Before we begin, the story you're about to hear is told from the perspective of someone who volunteered in real search and rescue operations. What happened during the search was never officially recorded, and the forest where it took place remains closed to the public to this day. If you've ever hiked alone, if you've ever felt watched in the woods, or if you've ever heard something call your name when no one was there, you may want to listen carefully. This is Dark Trail Confessions, and this is what they found. I was part of a search party that found something in the woods. I've been asked more than once why I quit volunteering for search and rescue. I usually say it was the time commitment or the cold, or the way my knees never recovered after long hikes. That answer satisfies people. They nod and move on. The truth is, I stopped because of what we found during a search in northern Montana and what followed us out of the woods. It was late October when the call came in. A solo hiker hadn't returned from a 3-day trip near the edge of a national forest, close to a stretch locals avoid without ever really explaining why. No trailhead log, no phone signal, just a car left at a turnout and a worried sister who waited 2 extra days before calling authorities. By the time we assembled, snow was already dusting the tree line. The ranger briefing was short, too short. We were told to stay in groups of 4. No wandering, no splitting off, even if we heard something. Radios were limited. Apparently the terrain interfered, and if one failed, we were to return immediately. That last part felt strange. Then the ranger added something that stuck with me. "If you hear your name," he said, not looking up from his clipboard, "assume it's the wind." A few of us exchanged glances. The forest swallowed us the moment we stepped past the tree line. Sound dampened instantly like the air itself had thickened. Even our boots, crunching on frost-covered leaves, felt muted, distant. Pines rose high above us, their tops lost in low cloud and mist. Trunks packed so tightly together that daylight barely filtered through. At first, it felt like any other search. We called out the hiker's name every few minutes. We checked creek beds, scanned for broken branches, scraps of fabric. After an hour, the cold crept in, the kind that starts in your spine and slowly works its way outward. Then the forest went quiet, not peaceful quiet, dead quiet. No birds, no wind, no distant movement. It happened so gradually, I didn't notice at first. Just a growing pressure in my ears, like the moment before altitude sickness hits. I remember realizing I could hear my own breathing too clearly, each exhale fogging the air in front of my face. One of the guys behind me muttered, "That's not right." We found the first sign just after noon. Footprints. They came out of nowhere. A clear line pressed into a patch of damp soil beside a stand of fir trees. At first glance, they looked human, hiking boots, deep tread. But then I noticed the spacing. The stride was wrong. Too long. Each step was nearly 6 feet apart, as if whoever made them wasn't walking so much as reaching. We followed them uphill, deeper into the trees, and that's when the smell hit us. Rot. Not the earthy smell of decay you expect in the woods. This was sharper, sour, like spoiled meat left in the sun. It caught in the back of my throat and made my eyes water. Someone gagged. That's when we found the backpack. It was hanging from a tree branch. Not snagged, placed. Strapped neatly, chest clip fastened, dangling just out of reach. Swaying gently even though there was still no wind. The fabric was torn in long, vertical strips, as if something had raked its fingers down the front. Inside, everything was intact: food, water, first aid kit. The only thing missing was the hiker. We radioed it in. Static answered. As we stood there, the quiet pressed harder. My skin prickled, hairs lifting along my arms and neck. That's when I became aware of something else. We were being watched. I couldn't see anything, but the feeling was overwhelming, like a weight between my shoulder blades. I kept turning, scanning the trees, expecting movement. Nothing. Then we heard it. Someone calling for help. It sounded faint, male, weak. It sounded like it was coming from downhill. Relief flooded through us, immediate and blinding. Someone shouted the hiker's name and took a step forward before the rest of us grabbed him. Because the voice repeated itself. Exact same tone, exact same cadence. Like a recording being played again. That's when I remembered the ranger's warning. If you hear your name, assume it's the wind. But this wasn't a name, it was a plea. And it was wrong. The voice came again, closer this time, echoing through the trees. And now I could hear something underneath it. Breathing, too heavy, too slow. Branches snapped somewhere to our left, then to our right, surrounding us. We backed away from the backpack, keeping our formation tight, weapons raised more out of instinct than training. My heart hammered so hard it made my vision pulse. That's when I saw it. Between two trees, maybe 40 yards out. Tall. Too tall. It was hunched, but even crouched, it towered over the undergrowth. Its limbs were long and thin, bending at wrong angles, skin stretched tight over bone, pale against the dark bark. I couldn't make out a face, just a suggestion of one, where the head tilted slightly like it was studying us. Then it smiled. I don't know how I know that, I just do. The voice spoke again, clearer now. Help me. It sounded exactly like one of the men standing beside me. That's when panic broke. We didn't run, we retreated fast and controlled, training barely holding together as the forest seemed to close in around us. Branches snagged our packs. Roots caught our boots. The smell of rot grew stronger with every step. Something moved parallel to us, always just out of sight, always keeping pace. We made it back to the tree line at dusk. The moment we crossed out of the forest, sound rushed back in. I heard wind, birds, the distant hum of a road. It was so sudden it made me dizzy. The ranger met us without asking questions. He just counted heads. Then he nodded once and told us the search was over. Officially, the hiker was never found. But that's not the end. For weeks after, I heard things at night. My name whispered just outside my bedroom window. Footsteps pacing my backyard. Once, I woke to the smell of rot filling my house, only for it to vanish the moment I turned on the lights. Others from the team reported similar things. One moved away, one stopped sleeping entirely, another, the one whose voice had been mimicked, disappeared 6 months later while camping alone. No trace, no search. Now, when people ask me why I quit search and rescue, I smile and give them the easy answer. But I know the truth. Whatever lives in those woods learned our voices that day, and sometimes, when the nights are quiet enough, I swear I can hear it practicing mine. Search and rescue teams are trained to look for the lost. But there are places in the wilderness where something else is doing the searching. Places where voices don't belong to the people who speak them, and where the forest remembers everyone who enters. If you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing to Dark Trail Confessions. News stories are released regularly, all based on encounters people were never supposed to survive. And remember, if you hear your name in the woods, don't answer.